Okay, having watched the videotape about all the theories and development of personality psychology, as well as having heard my previous talk so far, next I want to give you a summary of domains of personality psychology. There are 6 domains I want you to keep in mind. And this is according to Larson, Buss, King, and Ensley. They proposed that study of personality would include the following 6 domains. First, the dispositional domain. Second, the biological domain. Third, the intrapsychic domain. Fourth, the cognitive experimental domain. The fifth, the social and cultural domain. And the sixth, the adjustment domain. And these are the 6 areas of study that we all focus on understanding personality. Well, let's talk about each of them. The dispositional domain deals with the ways in which individuals differ from one another and cuts across all other domains. This includes individual differences in habitual emotions, habitual concept of self, physiological propensities, and even their intrapsychic mechanisms. The dispositional domain seeks to identify and measure the most important ways in which individuals differ from one another. Now here we see a typical illustration of the dispositional domain of personality study. Look at this. We have a stable and unstable, and introversion and extroversion, and we can have 4 broad areas of personality characteristics, including those that would belong to phlegmatic, and those belong to sanguine, and those belong to choleric, and those do belong to melancholic. And all of this will describe the dispositions or the traits of how individuals differ from one another. The second domain, the biological domain, focuses on human biological systems, as these systems provide the building blocks for behaviors, thoughts, and emotion. It typically includes the following 3 aspects: genetics, with, for instance, for the identical twin studies, and the identical twins reared up in different environments or societies, and a psychophysiology, which is about a nervous system functioning, and evolution, the adaptive problem solving for survival and reproduction. So this is the areas that the biological domain cares for personality study. Okay, you see, and there was this Minnesota twin studies that have been done this for more than 70 years. There was a lot of interesting findings. Look at the twins when they were born, they were took away and lived in different environments, different societies, and when you find them again, you want to see how they shared and how they differed from one another for all these years. The intrapsychic domain deals with the mental mechanisms of personality for which the institutional system is believed to drive and energize much of the human activity. The core of the institutional system includes sexual and aggressive forces and produce various defense mechanisms for its gratification. And intrapsychic domain is most linked with Freud's theory of psychoanalysis, as well as theories of Alfred Freud, Carl Jung, and others. And this was a big part that we'll look at how personality is initially developed and explained. The cognitive experimental domain focuses on cognitive and subjective experiences, such as conscious thoughts, feelings, beliefs, and desires about oneself and others. This includes self-constructs, and contrast, self-knowledge, self-concept, self-awareness, self-images, body image, self-beauty, self-ideals, actual self, spiritual self, intellectual self, and self-actualization, self-congruence, self-refinement. This is the typical illustration of construct and contrast. For instance, self-satisfied and self-doubting. Uninterested in communicating with people and interested in communicating with people. Nice, rude, sensitive to others and insensitive to others. Outgoing, gregarious, and introverted, retiring. Like this. Okay, and let's talk about self-esteem. We'll talk about self-esteem. What are the terms that relate to it, including self-confidence, self-judgment, self-pride, self-worth. All of this are either the ideal self or the actual self, self-incongruence, and self-congruence. Next is the social and cultural domain, and it examines the influence of social, cultural, rituals, customs, lifestyles on formation of personality of people within a particular ethnic group or society. It assumes that personality affects and is affected by social and cultural context. And it shows that people all possess as much private selves as public selves and as much individual selves as cultural selves. As an example, look at Confucius. Confucius have advocated the rules for proper social and moral behaviors of the Chinese in Chinese society. Just give an example. Some of the Confucius' best quotes. A gentleman is earnest and frank, whereas a villain is always worried. Okay? A gentleman cherishes virtues, whereas a villain cherishes self-interests. A gentleman cherishes law, whereas a villain cherishes favor. A gentleman agrees to disagree, while a villain agrees to obtain. So if you follow Confucius' instructions for proper social behaviors, you will become a Confucianist or Confucian gentleman. The adjustment domain addresses how personality affects one's coping, adaptation, and adjustment to daily hassles and stressors. It studies how personality is linked with health-related behaviors such as smoking, drinking, and risk-taking. It also examines one's coping styles. It also examines how one's coping styles are determined by his or her personality. And you can see if someone is optimistic and grateful, you will always find means and ways to cherish his own life or otherwise. Okay? And this is all the words for thanks in different society, different culture, different languages. And all of this will be what I'm going to address for personality psychology. And that is all for today's lecture. Thank you.